It's now 5 o'clock. I call this meeting of the Granbury Independent School District to order. Let the record show that the meeting, that there's a quorum of the board present, that the meeting has been duly called, and that notice of the meeting has been posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code 551. At this time, the board will adjourn into executive session pursuant to the following sections: 551.072, discussion of purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property; 551.074, discussion of officers, employees, and personnel matters; and 551.076, consider the deployment, specific occasions for, or implementation of security personnel and devices. The time is now 5:01.
Test.
Turn it up.
The time is now 5:49. We are back in open session. We will recess until 6 o'clock. The time is now 6:01. We are reconvened in open session. And for those of you that might have a little interest in it, about 5 minutes ago, it was 5-3 Rangers, the bottom of the sixth. At this time, I've asked Dr. Glenn if he will deliver the invocation.
Thank you, Madam President. If you'll bow your heads and pray with me. Most gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you for this opportunity to come before you this evening. We come with heavy hearts for the nation of Israel. We pray for all of those who have had their lives destroyed. We ask that you just lift up the entire nation, Lord. We pray for the men and women in our armed services, Lord, and we thank you for the freedoms that we have in this country and those who protect it. And Lord, we're thankful for our school system and the teachers and staff who serve our kids, our parents, and our community. We lift them up to you and we pray in this meeting tonight. We bring you honor and we bring you glory. We ask for forgiveness where we fall short. For it is in Christ's name. Amen.
At this time, I'll ask the AMS choir to stand, and you are going to lead us in the pledges. With the rest of you, please stand too.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please face the Texas flag. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you. The rest of you may be seated, and we will go right into our spotlight tonight and the AMS choir.
It's my pleasure to introduce to you the Acton Middle School Varsity AMS Varsity Treble Choir under the direction of myself, Randall Walters, and my co-director, Miss Emily Ross. These students were named commended winners in the 2023 Mark of Excellence National Choral Honors Project, one of only 5 choirs to receive this distinction. This year, the Mark of Excellence competition received 442 entries from 40 states. This is the second year for the AMS Varsity Treble to receive an award, having achieved national winner distinction in 2021-2022. So, we're here to sing the Star Spangled Banner. If you would rise and face the flag.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we held at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets crackled once bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the brave and the home of the brave?
Randall, can I get a picture and you with them also? Okay. gonna go from this angle.
One, two, three.
All right.
Mr. Walters can tell you, and I've talked to some of you all, I am a consummate choir mom. I mean, that was my life the whole time my kids were in school. And the fullness of your all singing when you're together, wow. I don't think I've ever heard anything so beautiful. Thank you so, so much for being here.
Do we have any parents here tonight of these amazing kids right here? Hands in the air. Yes. All right, at this time, we're going to call up Jamie Robinson. Is that right? For the Bigs Club.
Good evening, everybody. It's this summer I got here and I was off to a fast start, and I get this email from Dallas Peck, and he's reaching out with this idea. He said, I know you're the new guy, but I have this idea for a club and how we could change the world. And so I said, you know what, let's make an appointment. So I'll let him kind of tell the story, but him and Kelsey, they're both up here, and they came and they had a presentation, they pitched it to me, and there was no way I could say no. It was such a beautiful, well thought out program, and it's getting traction and making the difference in lives on our campus, and it's going to start trickling through our community. So with here, I have Dallas Peck that I'd like for you to kind of share what you're doing, my man. Come on up. All right.
Hello, my name is Dallas Peck, and I'm the founder and president of the Granbury Bigs Club. So before I begin our mission statement, I would like to say how we came up with this club. So the first really thing for us is we want to be an upstander, not a bystander. And that's the main thing that we have noticed in the district, is that we need to be upstanders and not bystanders. And we really want to make the community a different place. So to really summarize our club, I'm going to read our mission statement. The Granbury Bigs Club is designed for student success. We want all GISD students to strive not only in the classroom, but in their daily lives as well. We believe that the key to young students that are bullied, have mental issues, or just need someone is having heartfelt moments with them. We will continue this message in every act we take, changing the world one positive interaction at a time. #WeAreChange. At this time, I would like to acknowledge a few people that have made this club possible. Our principal, Mr. Robinson, Trustee Gore, our sponsor, Mrs. Ditto, Kelsey Ehart, who is also the co-founder and vice president, and finally, all of our leadership, other members in the club, and community members. Thank you to you all. In the last month, we have hosted a suicide awareness day at GHS. We have passed out our bracelets for students to wear during this day, which I'm wearing right now. We also made shirts that I'm also wearing right now. Are You Matter shirts? Had to do a little 360 for y'all to show what we put into this. And still today, I see multiple students on campus wearing these bracelets. We have also accepted and totaled 33 members for the club. In the near future, we will be actively working to partner with other GIS campuses to host a Big Brother and Big Sister Day. During this day, club members will go and be a big to younger students. See what I said? Big? Granbury Big Club? On this coming Wednesday, the 18th, which is Unity Day, we will be passing out bracelets and stickers, and we have a few for y'all when we're done talking, and I'm wearing that one also right now. And we will be entering a canned food drive at the end of this month, and we will be collecting red cans to build a heart shape and submit this for a contest. Before I end speaking, I would like to leave everyone in this meeting with a quote. Change will not come if we wait for some other person or some other time. We are the ones we've been waiting for. We're the change that we seek. That comes from Barack Obama. Thank you all for your time, and that is the Granbury Bigs Club.
Are the parents of Dallas and Kelsey in the room? All right, in the back. Great job. Y'all raised two outstanding kids. At this time, I'm going to call up Wendy Kennedy with Schottenkirk to talk about our Senior of the Month.
Thank you for having us. As most of you are aware, we adopted the Teacher of the Year last year, and we're very excited about that. We know that the teachers and the students are important to Granbury, and they're important to us. And so I wanted to take this moment to tell these teachers that you make a difference, and your work means a lot. And these children, they're our future. And so anything that we can do to pour out into this community for the teachers at the ISD as well as these students, we're here to help. So thank you for this opportunity. And, you know, I can expand on other things that we're doing with Schottenkirk with the technician program. I wish that I had Matt Howe here to make mention of that and what we're doing there, but I believe last year we hired 7 of the students in that program, so I'm super, super excited about that. Not only we we realize that sometimes these kids, they kind of really don't really know what they want to be when they grow up, right? And so this program with the automotive technicians, it's humbling to know that we can change the lives of these kids and give them a career path. And so we're super excited about that. We're going to keep marching forward and being a part of this community. And I'm super excited to be presenting these awards today. So. Valerie, will you come up and take your award for, I guess it's September, or Student of the Month? Okay.
Read also.
Congratulations, Valerie. Wendy, correct me, it's a $500 scholarship, and y'all will be awarding them every month to a different senior, is that correct? That is correct. All right. Well, thank you guys so much.
Reed Harrington, please come up and take your award for October.
All right, congratulations to both Reed and Valerie. Are y'all's parents here? Oh, I see some hands up. All right. Well done, and Wendy, thank you. We value the partnership with Schottenkirk, and not only y'all supporting our Teacher of the Year, but also these student scholarships and everything y'all give back to our community. We are very grateful. Madam President, that is all we have for Achievement Spotlight this month.
We'll move right to the superintendent's report.
All right, thank you. Would let you know, ordinarily we would like to come to you with the first report, the Financial Integrity Rating System of Texas. We've actually delayed that, and I'll delay my report while our choir and anyone else who would like to leave after Achievement Spotlights goes ahead and leaves. So this would be a good time. Yeah, and if people want to move to the reserved seating, now would be a good time. We're good? All right. Welcome. And we'll jump right into the superintendent's report. The Financial Integrity Rating System of Texas, we had hoped to present that to you this month. Unfortunately, that'll have to wait one more month. We got to make our required postings in the newspaper for that. It'll also be a public hearing. Proud to remind everybody, because I know we've mentioned it before, that we did receive a perfect score from the state of Texas, so kudos and a shout out to everyone in our business office. And this is a busy time. We do have auditors in the district every year in the fall. Auditors come in, perform an independent review of all the district's financial practices, and they will provide, our auditors will actually come to the meeting in December and present that report to the board and the community. Also, you probably read in the paper about the A to F ratings being delayed, and also the A to F ratings lawsuits that several districts have filed. We are not a part of that, but we do anxiously await the scores. They are not, we haven't even seen preliminary scores at this time, so it'll likely be next month. We certainly are hoping by next month we can report the 8F scores at this meeting. A special session is currently in progress. I know our teachers have been following that. We're following that to see what's going to happen as it relates to school funding that is currently tied up down in Austin that we're hoping to be released. Two other things. One, and I don't think she's here tonight, but I can pretty much guarantee that that Cadet Allen will be recognized at a future meeting for setting the JROTC national record in shooting, which is just awesome. And had the opportunity to visit with her today, and she's a sophomore. So she's going to be shooting for us for 3 years, which is, I'm sure Colonel Casey is pretty excited about that. Also, just a reminder, it is National Principals Month. I see some principals in the audience, so thank you guys for what you do. We appreciate it. And I see a few staff in the audience, so I'll remind, and parents, I'll remind everybody that Friday is a Staff Development Day, the 20th, and yeah, I know you don't mean that. And Ron Fox will actually be our speaker, and I want to invite our trustees. That program will begin at 8 a.m., GHS Auditorium, and I look forward to an eventful day of professional development. And so, Madam President, that is your report for this month.
Thank you, Dr. Graham. At this time, we will go to public comments on agenda item. Because our campus improvement plans addresses bullying, those of you that have signed up to speak on bullying will be allowed to speak during this period of time. Beverly Cheney.
Does that mean we get a little longer? Oh, thank you. Thanks for allowing us to speak, and thanks for the little bit of extra time. I know there is bullying in our schools. Unfortunately, I believe that there's been bullying ever since there have been schools. My daughter was bullied. I was bullied. And unfortunately, because I was a 7th grade girl, I probably was part of a group that did a little bullying because I wasn't immune to it. I think it's important for our schools, our teachers, our community, and we as parents and grandparents to work together to address the problems of bullying. It takes a concerted effort to heal kids, not just those affected by the bullies, but in all fairness, most bullies are wounded people. That's why they hurt people, and they need care and healing themselves. I also know it to be true that bullying doesn't just happen with kids. Adults bully. Social media and the internet don't seem to help. There's even bullying right here in this room. As a matter of fact, in reading through emails obtained by a friend through a FOIA request, I've read some of the most brutal bullying I've ever seen. And it was directed at the board president, my mother. I'm going to try to get through this. Now, she has no idea I'm speaking to this tonight. She would have likely said, it's no big deal, because she knows her worth. She's been in education her whole life, and she sees the true fruit of her life labors in the people who surround her and lift her up and love her. But here are a few things that have been written or said to her in the last 3 months. You are old and you're used up. You will burn in the pits of hell. You should crawl in a hole and disappear. Your fruit is putrid. You are classless and ignorant. Instead of buying a plane, you should have taken the school's money and gotten reconstructive surgery so the public doesn't have to look at your horrible appearance. Oddly, not only were most of those things written by people right here in this room, but they were written some by people who have taken up the mantle of anti-bullying. Anti-bullying is such a worthy cause. And I can hope that those people who have now joined that cause have done so because they realize the brutality of their words and their actions. Maybe instead of the cause of anti-bullying be something that causes further division, we should all just try to be kinder. We should try to live a life that makes people around us happy. We should all try to be better. Thank you.
Aaron Davis. Before you start the clock, Ms. Davis, have you pursued the issue with your son's bullying through have you been with the principal? Have you filed a grievance?
Yes, the grievance one I filed, and that's kind of my question in that.
I'm sorry?
I filed the grievance one. I have the appointment with Dr. Smith on the 19th at 1 p.m.
Okay. Just for your information, and this will not keep you from speaking tonight, but advice to you is if it gets to level 3, you will have all the time you need in an open session if you want to, at that time, to speak to the issue. It would be much better for the board if we heard your whole story rather than 3 minutes of it. However, that choice is yours.
Is there any way to skip level 1 and 2 if I have emails with Dr. Smith and Dr. Glenn? I mean, I don't see the point in having another meeting with the same people that you're disputing with.
Well, by state law and board policy, you make your dispute at level 1. If you're not pleased with the result you get there, then you move it to the next level. If again you don't get the desired results, then you move it to the board at that point. So that is the state law and the way it's done. And I just want to caution you that at that time you could have all the time you need to tell your whole story. But that's the way that the procedure works.
Okay. So we follow the procedures when it comes to y'all, but when it comes to my son, he has to wait more time. He's still being bullied by the same group of kids. So.
If you want to speak to it here, Ms. Davis, then we'll start your time. But once again, my best advice would be.
That's fine. I think I understand your advice. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Davis, and I assure you if it gets to level 3, it will be heard however you want it. Michael Davis. Oh, the one that lives at 3542 Oak Meadows? Gosh, I'm taking these one at a time. On bullying and code of conduct.
My name is Michael Davis. My son is Jaden Davis. He was assaulted at GMS school. The one that assaulted him received, I would say, 2 days of ISS, which is a very minimal punishment for that. I do believe that the code of conduct for the district is the removal of the child from, removal of the child from the school, period, to whether it be BTC or somewhere else, not just for his actions, but for the safety of our son. That is in the code of conduct, and it also is in the state mandated law for that. But that was also ignored. My son had a hard time adjusting to middle school. Very, very hard time. We had to push him to go. And now that he's back in there, now we're having a hard time getting him back used to school because the same people that were hurting him and teasing him are still back there with him again. So now it's another struggle. And we claimed and asked everybody for help, but we're not getting the help that we need. We need something now, not tier 1, tier 2, or ask everybody's permission. We need this now because it's our son. And if it's not our son, it's somebody else's son later on. This is an important deal for us, and we will continue to push until y'all finally hear us. Somebody's going to hear us somewhere. Whether it be this county or this state, it makes no difference. Our family is important to us. Regardless, we're going to push until everybody hears it. Until we make a noise, it's going to be heard. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. Shelby Parks.
Hello, my name is Shelby Parks. I am a sophomore at Granbury High School. I'm up here to comment about the issue with the bullying situation as well as the recent events that have happened on social media in the last week. Yeah, I know about being bullied, as I have been bullied by other students since elementary school, to my face and behind my back. Whether about me being plus-sized, unathletic, or simply for being a part of the LGBTQ+ community. It does not feel good, it does not feel great, it does not feel awesome. And I can confidently say that me and any other student that has been bullied in this district do not feel comfortable with the way the direction the bullying is going on and in the district and the way it is being handled. Well, not being handled in some situations. You see, I am the Gay Straight Alliance Club Secretary. Despite what some people may think, the GSA is not the high school for indoctrination purposes or to learn anything sexual. The GSA is a club for all students in Granbury High School to have a safe space to feel welcomed and feel safe. Some of you may not know or care to learn, but the GSA club at the high school is student-ran, all by students, little or no teacher involvement other than to let us use their classroom for the meeting after school ends and be the teacher sponsor, like all clubs. In my opinion, the GSA is the most safe space in the school, free of bullying, harassment, and teasing. Why would anyone have a problem with that? What I'm trying to get at here is that the board and all citizens of Granbury need to accept and get attuned with the way Granbury is changing. We have queer students. Acknowledge that. We have students that are being bullied and no one's doing anything about it. Acknowledge that. Every student belongs here and should feel safe. Acknowledge that. Every student should be treated equal. That's all I'm asking as a student of Granbury ISD. Thank you.
Thank you. Emily Davis.
Hi, I am Emily Davis. I'm a 7th grader at GMS and is related to the victim Jaden Davis, and I don't think it's fair for one of the guys to get in the gang to get 1 day of ISS when he hit my brother and put a chemical in his eye, and when he got asked why, he said, "I don't know. I don't even know him." So how is it fair for some kids to suffer even though that they've been getting bullied? And I think that what he's doing is wrong, and so why should the kids suffer from him doing that even though he and his gang are the only ones doing it? Thank you, bye.
Thank you. Jaden Davis.
my name is Jaden Davis. I attend GMS. I am the victim of a kid at GMS that claims to be in a gang. That kid came up to me from behind and hit me 2 times in my eye and then rubbed hand sanitizer in my eye. Ever since then, him and his friends have been called me crybaby and kept flicking me in the back of my head at lunch. I told my principal this, and I want to ask one question and would like an answer before my time is up, please. Why won't you help protect me?
Jaden, that took a lot of courage for you to speak. Thank you.
Thank you.
Michael Davis.
All right, I want to thank you guys for everything you do, all right? I know it takes a lot to sit up there and listen to all this nonsense that's coming up your way, so I'm going to commend you for that. Much better than I am. So let's be honest, y'all, there's always going to be bullies, all right? I was bullied growing up. I was a skinny, run-of-a kid, and we didn't have a whole lot of money. You know, I was bullied until I took care of it. I wasn't bullied anymore. You know, when it comes down to it, you know, you can sit there and spin a lie so much. Straight out of Joseph Goebbels' playbook, you know, Hitler's propaganda minister. He said if you tell a lie enough over and over and over again, people start to believe it. That's what you two do. Yeah, you laugh, I'm sure. You know, ha ha. You know. You sat there and actually went to the sheriff's office and actually told them that I was following you around the gym. Yeah, I looked down too. You've made disgrace to this board, and you've made disgrace to this board. Yeah, I wouldn't look at me either. The nonsense you guys have brought to this place is ridiculous. You know, right out of the Saul Alinsky playbook, don't let a good crisis go to waste. You guys just, you know, take your crisis and just run with it. I'm not saying bullying is not wrong, but zero tolerance is made to protect the victim. It's supposed to be made to protect the victim. It doesn't. The person that cries first, he's the one that gets the free pass. So, that hurt your feelings? Good, probably should. Appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. Monica Brown. Ms. Brown, you will have 3 minutes to speak on both of your topics, the district improvement plan and public comment. Total of only 3 minutes for both.
Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate that. I had a question. It's not on the bullying topic, and I will speak to that, but as just a citizen, I'm curious, and I hope it's a fair game question. We're in a school, and we have a bond coming up, and it is going to be listed as a tax increase on our election ballot. why can't this building right here be used as a school? I know you can't answer me, but it's a curious question. Others are asking me, I don't know. So I'm curious, if you have space issues, I know it's on the right side of town, but it seems like in a pinch it might work, and I'm understanding there's a building right across the street that's 2 stories that's empty that could be turned into an administration building. So that was one question about improvement plans. And as far as the bullying goes, I know Mike Davis from a while back, and not the Davis whose child was bullied in the school system, but the other one, and he has been bullying people. And I'm sorry to say, what he just did just now, whoever clapped for him, I can't imagine why he would do that. And I am for you enforcing your code of conduct, and every one of you, like Mike Moore, you spoke the other day at a forum and said the books are taken care of, and that isn't true. It's not true. And there's been bullying from Billy Wimberly from day one that he never recanted. It's documented. It's in the Hood County News. So, Melanie, bravo to you. Karen Lowry, bravo to you, and all the other people who are going to stand up and speak up until somebody listens. I've got a grievance filed against Dr. Glenn right now, and also Billy Wimberly for bullying. For bullying. So I have really nothing else to say, but I am curious about this building and that building and why that couldn't be a short-term solution instead of a $151 million bond.
Ms. Brown, just for your information, the last time classes were held in this building, it was for one class of 9th grade students. Would not serve for an elementary school for 500 or 600 students because of the number of kids that were here at the last time it was used, and at that time it was overcrowded. Dave Eagle.
Good evening, trustees, Mr. Glenn. I'm talking today on the GISD resolution regarding vouchers and school funding. First of all, which 2 trustees put this on the agenda? Where did this resolution come from? I will share with you where this resolution came from. It came from TASB, March 2023 bulletin brief that has a hyperlink to a PDF, which is this resolution that you got on the agenda. This is nothing but taxpayer-funded lobbying. How is this taxpayer-funded lobbying, you may ask? Because you are taking a position on a potential legislation and you are using tax dollars to do it. Not only are you using public resources to do this, but you are going to send this to a lobbyist to use it to influence legislation if you pass this tonight. What you're doing goes against the 2022 Republican platform of Texas that 5,000 plus of us went down to Houston last summer, the summer of 2022, and passed. Plank number 101, school choice. I will read it. Texas families shall be empowered to choose from public, private, charter, or homeschool options for their children's education, and the funding shall follow the student without strings attached. We also support tax credits and exemptions for education choice within the public school system. Plank number 232, we oppose tax dollars to hire lobbyists or pay tax dollars to associations that lobby the legislature. Plank number 123, Republican Party of Texas calls on all ISDs to sever all ties with taxpayer-funded lobbying groups, including TASB, TASA, and TAX. Yes, the Texas Association of School Boards is a lobbying group, whether you want to admit it or not. Back to the brief. You have a resolution on this agenda to oppose school choice. If you vote yes and pass this resolution, You will then forward this to TASB, and they will use this resolution to lobby the legislature in an attempt to affect the outcome of a school choice bill. That goes against the Republican Party platform of Texas. This arguably goes against more than half of the tax-paying citizens' wishes in this county. If you are true Republicans, you will vote no on this resolution. And by the way, being searched and wanted coming in here reminds me of Thomas Jefferson's quote. When the people fear the government, there is tyranny. But when the government fears the people, there's liberty. And y'all are scared to death of us. Thank you.
Zeb Olam.
I've got a note of positivity. Last Friday, I had a coworker come to my office and she said, my daughter goes to GHS, she's being bullied. I don't know what to do, Facebook isn't solving my problems. So I said, have you talked to the principal yet? She said, no, that's really intimidating. I said, he's a good guy. I've met him, I trust him. I don't know what's gonna happen, but I encourage you to reach out, make an appointment. He's a really nice guy, you won't regret it. So this morning at 9 a.m., she went to go see you. And I don't know exactly what happened in the meeting, but she came back, hugged me around my neck, said it was the first time that she felt like she had really been heard, and that there was an action plan in place, that he was taking immediate action. And so I just want to commend you on your hiring of our GHS principal, and thank you very much. That's all I've got.
Nancy Alana.
Good evening. It really and truly breaks my heart that we have a student that has been bullied, and I'm sure that it happens from time to time in our schools, simply because it happens from time to time everywhere we go. And it really breaks my heart that this student hurts, and the parents as well. Because bullying is not acceptable any time or any place, either by children or adults. I encourage the board, the administrators, our counselors to really look into character education programs that really focus on today's type of bullying. Bullying today is so much different than what it used to be. And I think as those of us that work with kids each and every day, we see that. Sometimes they're not sure how to get along with each other because their head is always looking at a device of some sort. And I think our kids need to learn how to communicate better with each other. Sometimes maybe they just don't know how. But I think by working together, we can start beginning to really focus on respect and kindness. And I think that as adults, we need to be modeling that for our students, for our teachers, and for our staff, and for the community. And I think that as a school district, we can begin to really see a difference in the kids when they begin to see a difference in us as adults. Thank you.
Because there are only 3 other speakers, rather than hold them till the end of the night, I will go ahead and recognize Todd Daniel. Mr. Daniel. Jerry Daughtry. That way you don't have to wait for your minute, Mr. Daughtry. You can go ahead and have it here.
The Vatry election that is coming up is designed to correct a disparity in wages for the teachers in this school district. I want to make the point tonight that these didn't get that way overnight. It is the neglect of this board over close to a decade that has caused this to be necessary to do. And this is not something that can be laid at the steps of Ms. Lowry or Ms. Graff or even Mr. Wimberly or Ms. Gore. But there are people here tonight that are responsible for this, and that would be Dr. Harrington, Dr. Glenn, Mrs. Townsend, and Mr. Moore. There is at least one other person in this room that has responsibility for this, and that would be Ms. Alana. And I would say to the teachers assembled here, you need to do some critical thinking about this situation, because you get a chance at the election to also send a good message to Mr. Moore and Mrs. Alana as to just how much you appreciate the neglect that you've given them for a decade.
Thank you, Mr. Daltrey. I think Michaela Anderson.
Hello, my name is Michaela Anderson, and I'm a teacher at Oakwood School. I tend to ramble, so I'll keep it brief within the time frame that I have. I've been teaching here at Granbury ISD for 6 to /8 years now. I say /8 because I was a long-term substitute for 2 years prior to being hired. Some say that I still have a lot to learn, and that's right, I do. But I firmly believe that we are all lifelong learners. Some say I've made mistakes. Who hasn't? That's how we learn after all, making mistakes. The most important thing that I have learned through the years that I have been teaching here is that these wonderful people, both teachers and parents alike, not just at my school, that I work alongside each day are the strongest, the most determined, and the most passionate people I have ever seen. I am so privileged to call them friends as well as colleagues. They give everything they have and more for their students each and every day, and they remain the top priority no matter what is going on and around the world. Let's just agree our kids are the ones that we are fighting for. We need to work together for what's in their interest, not ours. Thank you.
Madam President, if I could just say a word, because I know there were several speakers on bullying tonight, and it is Bully Prevention Awareness Month. We have approximately 1,200 educators in Granbury ISD, and I assure you that no member of our staff, whether it's a bus driver or a custodian or a teacher or administrator, ever wants to see a kid bullied or a kid not to feel safe in our schools. But we also recognize that it happens. And I want to encourage parents that may be watching online or with us tonight that there are opportunities for kids to report not only to their classroom teacher or to their administration on campus, but they can also use our online reporting system, which is on our district website. We also identify, not only define what bullying is on our website, but we talk about cyberbullying, which wasn't discussed tonight, but is also a rampant problem among kids at all ages with the prominent use of cell phones. We provide tips to parents and educators to stop bullying. We discuss what the investigation process looks like, and then we give contact information to our counselors so parents and students and community members have the opportunity to discuss problems that might be ongoing in our school. We also, as a district, have committed to capturing kids' hearts and training teachers on how to work with kids and work through the bullying process and how to prevent it and mitigate it in our schools. And then, most importantly, we follow the Texas Safety Center bullying process as we investigate these incidents, because likely a lot of the time we're talking about very young kids that can be 6, 7, 8, 9 years old. And we want to make sure that every child receives their due process through this. If you have any questions about it, or if you're watching online with questions, send an email to your principal or just reach out to your kid's classroom teacher. We're happy to provide you with that information. I know the heart of our staff. I know the heart of our teachers. In Granbury ISD, we care about kids. I know the process works slow sometimes, but we make every effort to make sure kids are protected and safe. Our board unanimously is committed to that, and our staff is unanimously committed to that. So thank you to all the speakers who came up to speak on bullying, especially this month while Bullying Prevention Month is going on. So, Madam President, that's all I have.
Well,
Did you fill out a form?
and your name? I'm sorry? I'm sorry, we do not.
Do you remember who you filled out your form with? Who did you turn it into?
Oh,
Okay. No, you'll turn in, so we have little forms, and you'll turn those in at the beginning of the meeting. Perfect, yeah. I'll be around after the meeting if you'd like to visit.
thank you very much. We certainly wouldn't want to overlook you. We'll move to the consent agenda, which will approve the minutes from the September 18th, 2023 meeting. Consider out-of-state travel requests. Oh, closed session. Back up. Consider action on items discussed in closed session. Thank you, Madam Secretary. Dr. Glenn.
Thank you, Madam President. You have before you the HR report of personnel recommendations for October 16, 2023. I want to thank Wes Jones and his staff for putting this together. It is our recommendation tonight that you approve as presented.
Excuse me. Go ahead.
Again, you have the HR recommendation is that you approve as presented.
Do I have a motion regarding the HR recommendation?
Madam President, I move that we accept the staff recommendations as presented in closed session.
Motion by Ms. Townsend. Do I have a second?
A second.
Second by Ms. Lowry. You have a motion and a second to approve the staff recommendations as made by Mr. Jones. All in favor, show of hands. Opposed, same sign. Let the record show 7-0. B, the deliberations regarding security devices or security audits.
Thank you, Madam President. We have had 3 intruder audits at Oak Woods Elementary School, SARS Accelerated High School, and Acton Elementary. There were no findings, and we recommend that you approve this as presented.
And that makes a dozen or so where they've had surprise visits, and we have passed them all with flying colors, right?
That is correct, and we do anticipate they will hit every campus this year. That is the goal of the School Safety Center.
Do I have a motion to accept the findings?
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Gore,
I'll second.
a second by Mr. Moore. Any discussion? All in favor, show of hands. Opposed, same sign. Let the record show 7-0. Now moving to the rest of the consent agenda. Budget amendments and the approval to delete CKE local policy and adopt CKEB local policy. Anybody want anything removed from the consent agenda or want to speak to any of it?
Yes, I'd like to speak to the Granbury High School choir. I'd like to pull it out.
All right.
I just have a couple of questions about it. Is this going to be a school-sponsored event?
I'll let Ms. Fisher is coming forward.
Yes, ma'am. I just had a couple of questions on it. as I was looking over at your sheet for the request for out of travel. Is this a school-sponsored event?
School-sponsored in the sense that, yes, I mean, it is the Granbury High School Choir.
School-sponsored, but not funded by
It's not
GISD.
funded by the school. It's funded by only the people who choose to attend to go.
Okay, and so it's not a performance event
It is a performance event for the ones who choose to go.
for the ones that choose to go?
Yes.
Okay, that was just a question that I had. There is one complimentary ticket. Do we know who, or I guess that's not the way to ask that. We have one, then who will be paying for the other one? Is it going to be for the teachers, or is it going to be for students?
Those tickets, generally, travel companies will just put those in there, and we are able to use them however we would
As you see
see fit. Yes.
Okay, well, that's fine. I just had a couple questions. Thank you.
I have some questions too. For the children who may not be able to afford to go, is there anything set up for them to provide for them to, like a fundraiser
We
or?
will set up fundraising through the Booster Club, as many as we can do, following the guidelines of the district.
So there is something set up for them to
Yes.
provide a way for them to
Yes.
go? Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Good, thank you.
Thank you.
And since you're up there, this is something my kiddos did the whole time. Can you talk about how many, what grades are we talking about? How many kids end up going?
We're
And
talking
what's
about
happened in the past?
grades 9 through 12. It's open to anyone who is in our choir, and our kids will sign up to go, and we may have about 50, we may have more. You never know. It depends on the location. It depends on the class. It just depends on a lot of things. But we will go and we will perform at these events. We will also go and learn culturally relevant things from different parts of the world. We've been to Canada, sung in Canada. We've been to Disney World. We've sung there. We've been to New York City, we've sung there, we've sung in Boston, we've sung all over, and it's always a great experience for the kids who go.
And I love the fact it's freshmen to seniors, and putting those all together, that's quite a job for you. With
It's a good time.
Yeah, different skill levels in there, so thank you.
Anything else?
Any comments on anything else? Nothing on budget amendments?
I do want to talk about budget amendments. My favorite part these days.
Thank you, Ms. Fisher.
Wait till you hear what our community has done this month. We have a donation from GCH Materials to Emma Robertson for sand for their sandbox, $2,000 worth of sand. A donation from the Granbury Masonic Lodge, Bernie Beckwith to Nettie Backus for batteries for their flashlight reading program, $225. Donation from First United Methodist Church to Nettie Backus for student water bottles, $672.68. Donation from Pirate Crew, Billy Martin to GMS to assist in student recognition celebrations, $400. Donation from Brightview Windows, Brent Holdridge to GMS for the Avid t-shirts, $250. Donations from Christian Brothers Automotive to GHS Automotive Program, 2 RTI AC servicing machines and a parts washer, $8,000. Donation from Granbury Flower and Gifts to the GHS Pirate Blooms, which is one of our CTE programs, for homecoming mom supplies, $500. Donation from GCH Materials, again, to Granbury FFA. They have sand for the agricultural barn pig wing pens. Again, $2,000 in sand. Donation from Granbury Pirates Softball Booster Club to the GHS softball for a four-wheeler to drag the softball field, $2,500. Donation from the Star of Texas Farm, John Hughes Family Farm, to GHS Robotics Student Activity Account to assist in travel expenses, $500. And lastly, but not leastly, donation from Element Glow, Richard Guerrera, to GISD Custodial for gift certificates for outstanding service awards, $80. The total donations for this month from our community, $17,127.68. Thank you. Our community shows their love for us. Please, you show your love back to these organizations. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Townsend. Do I have a motion regarding the consent agenda?
I'd like to add one more thing, please. I'd like to check out the CKE local until next month after we've been able to have Mr. Clark come speak to us. The DH local just has one change, but the CKE local has a lot of different information in it, and I'd like to hear Mr. Clark first.
Are you asking it to remove it completely from the agenda?
Yes, the CKE, we can do the DH part of it, but the
Are you
CKE
putting that in the form of a motion?
I am putting that in the form of a motion. I'd like to have table or remove the CKE part of the local policy until we can hear Mr. Clark speak to us on that due to the extent of the changes.
I have a motion to remove that from the consent agenda. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Is there any discussion?
And this is just to get more clarifying information from Mr. Clark, correct? I had a hard time hearing you, I'm sorry.
Yes, I'd like to get more information from Mr. Clark as to what exactly all of these mean and why all these different changes when on the front page it just says that it is a adoption with something that's been changed or added to the DK policy. I'd just like more clarification from him.
Thank you.
Any further discussion?
So we're just moving it till next month, and we'll discuss it then.
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yes. All in favor of the motion to remove item D, replace it on next month's agenda?
Place it on the November agenda?
Yeah. All in favor, show of hands. Opposed, same sign. Let the record show 6-1 opposed, and we will put that on the agenda next month with Mr. Wimberly objecting. Going to discussion and action, approve Granbury ISD District Improvement Plan.
We have to approve the other.
All the rest of it.
Oh,
Remaining consent agenda.
you're right. Thank you. We'll approve the minutes, the out-of-state travel, and the budget amendments. Do I have a motion?
And DH local.
And the what?
And DH, she just removed the CKE local, so we're still approving the DH local. The only part that got tabled for next month was the CKE local. And the one that we just tabled was CKE local. So we're still approving the CKC and the DH local with this consent agenda.
CKC, yes,
Yes.
that is correct.
I only have CKE and CKEB on mine.
CKE.
She's looking at this sheet.
Yeah, I don't have DH listed on mine, so I
That was in our board book. wasn't it?
Yeah.
have CKE and CKEB. All right, so to clarify, we're removing CKE and
Just CKE.
CKE local. And we are considering CKEB and DH, right?
CKC and DH.
This is the agenda that was placed out here. It's right there.
All right.
Well,
To clarify, thought I wasn't reading it, these old eyes, darn it. But mine says CKE and CKEB, so we are going to remove CKE local and approve everything else. Okay. Do I have a motion?
For the entire consent?
Yeah, for every.
Just for that one? Okay.
No, for everything, everything else.
I move that we accept the consent agenda items as amended.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Ms. Townsend for the motion, Ms. Gore for the second. Is everybody clear except me?
We're approving the consent agenda as amended. That's minus CKE local policy, which has been tabled to November. Everything else we are accepting.
Absolutely. All in favor of that motion, show of hands. Opposed, same sign. Let the record show 7-0.
I apologize to Dr. Harrington. That error on hers is a mistake from our office, not from her. So
Oh, blame me, it's okay.
she does get a larger print version. So
That is true. That is true. Moving right along then, Ms. Tammy Clark, do you want to come tell us about this district improvement plan?
I do. Thank you, Madam President. I'm super excited to present the district improvement plan. Just like last month, when we were doing campus improvement plans, we were waiting on the A through F refresh for some of the information. And so you'll see some of that will be updated as soon as we get it. But we made it as complete as possible. Jimmy and I and Emmett, as well as all of the directors, got together and set performance objectives and strategies to align with the long-range planning goals from this long-range planning session we had this past spring and summer. And so we addressed everything that was applicable to every single department. And so you'll see, I did the at a glance, just like you have for campus improvement plans, so that it can be a little bit easier to digest. But if you have questions about the stuff in the bulk of it, we can address that. But under the first goal of grade level proficiency and future ready skills, we know that we need to work on, of course, math and English in our CCMR, but we're waiting for the A through F to set those goals for that particular section. In college readiness, it's called college readiness, but we like to call it college bound, industry bound, and military bound. So we are going to continue our AVID program, continue to explore ways to increase our AP, dual credit, and dual enrollment classes, like we did this year with another partnership with Tarleton. We want to increase our TSIA offerings. That's the College Ready test. And so they can then take college bridge courses if necessary so that they're ready for college if that's the track they choose. And then we're working really hard on CCMR tracking. In coordinated health, that's looking at the whole student. And we heard a lot about that tonight. We have some really good goals from our strategic planning groups in that area. We have a culture committee that's been working already and are going to meet again this week to address some of that. But it's just to take care of the whole child, their social well-being, their physical well-being, and their mental well-being. So we'll continue our partnerships with TCHAT, with Community and Schools, with our Children Advocacy Center, the Breslin Pregnancy Center, and all of the presentations that they do to make sure that our kids get what they need. And that, of course, goes through SHAC. And then we also are launching Capturing Kids' Hearts for the secondary campuses this year, which was part of the process to make sure that we are setting up social contracts and making sure that mutual respect is important in every setting in the school. And we will push that down to elementary schools next year. And then We are doing Can Do You for secondary campuses. Those are some short sessions that help them learn some character building traits and some problem-solving traits and some conflict management traits, and they do that through their advisory classes. And then, of course, on our elementary campuses, we do character education. So that's our coordinated health in a fast nutshell. But for the highly effective and well-supported and valued staff, there's a lot of things under there, but of course the VATRE to get competitive payment schedule, permitting voter approval. We're also looking at observation feedback training continued to support our staff, our admin staff. We're coaching them so that they can coach their teachers. And we are a leader in a model for this process in North Texas. Through our long-range planning, we looked to put a committee for recruitment and a committee to unify the district model for mentoring, and those committees have already been formed and are underway. We partner with Tarleton for interns, and we are a leader and model school for this as well. And there's lots of people who want to talk to Wes Jones and our elementary principals regarding our internship programs. And so number 3, looking at the community connectedness, there are some different things that were pushed down from our long-range planning. The standardized teacher family, and school community communication expectations. So we're working on creating some of those templates, and there's a committee for that. Unifying branding policy for the district and creating some surveys, student surveys, family surveys, community surveys, and teacher surveys, so that we know that we're meeting everybody's needs and connecting with them the best that we can. So that'll be working, we'll be working towards that. And then we're going to continue our Purple Star program. I'm super proud of that, so you have to listen to me brag about it one more time. But we are a statewide example for this. TEA, when they talk about their Purple Star program, they have added us to their slide to say Granbury got 100% of their campuses. So great job, principals. And as far as facilities being well-maintained, secure, and prepared for future growth, everyone knows that there's if the bond passes in November, there will be a bond oversight committee and things like that, and so there's plans in place permitting that. But otherwise, we are looking towards successful achievement on all state audits, our emergency operations plans being put in place and continued to be updated. The continued Marshall Plan, House Bill 3 asks for a guard at each campus, that's their only duty, and we were staffed that way and compliant with that before this year's legislative session. So we have been having our security, our awesome Marshall program compliant with House Bill 3 before it was up to date. So. But the goals that we're going to update after A through F, we're going to look at the demographics. We know that our EB, our emergent bilingual population is growing, our SPED population is growing, and our economically disadvantaged population is growing. So we're going to have to keep on working towards meeting their needs and figuring out where their gaps are. So that's going to be something that probably will have some goals surrounding that. And then in curriculum instruction, we're going to see if there's a deeper need, like for math intervention or for CCMR, but we're looking to see exactly how the state is going to be counting those things to see where our efforts need to be focused in on. So it is my recommendation that you approve the district improvement plan as presented.
I have a couple of questions.
Oh, go ahead.
Sure.
Nope.
Go ahead.
Mine are easy. First off, thank you so much. You spelled out a lot of the abbreviations this time. I didn't have to go look up a bunch of abbreviations.
I tried.
So thank you.
You're welcome.
Also, the 20 hours community service as local graduation requirements, is that done within their time in high school or
Yes, ma'am. So it is done in their time in high school, and they track it with our counselors through a Google Sheet. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead, Ms. Lowry.
Yes.
All right, my turn.
Yay.
First, I just want to say that I did put in a right time frame for an agenda item for bullying. But Mrs. Clark, I have a question. On page 19, under the problem statement number 7, it says bullying can contribute. I would like to suggest that we say that it does contribute to a negative climate in our schools.
Well, this is a living document. We absolutely can. Can you tell me? Oh, I see it.
Page 19.
Yes,
Yeah,
ma'am.
and the root cause also, it says bullying is present in school settings and it can, and I think that we should say that it does have serious negative effects for both victims and bullies.
Sure. I can make that change.
And then on page 33, under strategy 6, develop systems to address bullying. The strategy details expected result and impact. The staff will be trained and aware of district-wide bullying procedures, and students will in turn feel safer and more connected at school. Are those programs that you just were talking about, were those the programs that are being identified?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And we have a point of when they're being implemented?
Yes, actually, our process champions would, for CKH for our secondary schools, and when I say CKH, capturing kids' hearts, so I won't do that to you. But they were trained last Staff Development Day, and we will be using this upcoming Staff Development Day for them to go out and be the trainer of trainers, if I'm understanding that correctly.
Okay.
Give me a thumbs up, Stacy Brown. Okay, yes, so they will be training this Friday.
Okay. This district, I went and looked on the website. We've got 17 policies regarding bullying at some point, and the issue dates were 6/7/23. Why are these policies not being followed to protect the students from bullying right now?
You want me to?
I think our policies are being followed, Ms. Lowry. I think our teachers and our administrators do a good job, but I think in a district with 8,000 kids, occasionally a kid's going to get bullied, and the administration is going to have to handle it.
Well, would also like to say that in the first 2 weeks of school, I was informed of 3 bullying issues, so I think it is a problem. And strategies are really good, but I think we need to look at what we can do right now to address the bullying issue.
Ms. Lowry, I hope if a parent comes to you with bullying, you'll direct them back to a counselor, administrator, or a teacher so that we can help resolve the problem with you.
Yes, I direct them back to where they need to go.
First of all, because bullying was on our district improvement plan, that's why we allowed the bullying people to speak on agenda items. As I look at it, and it's mentioned not once and not twice, but 4 times, and it's obvious that not only the people who are put together the district improvement plan, but those of us that have looked at it, we know that it's a priority, and I know that we are moving on that. It doesn't mean it's going to stop all the bullying, but I really appreciate all the efforts. 3 other issues for me on page 18, where more than 6% of our students and their families have no internet access at home. And if you realize how much the world depends on internet, and we have that many youngsters in this district who do not have access to that information that everybody else has. Those are the same youngsters that are challenged in some other way. So I don't have a solution. I just recognize the problem, and thank y'all for recognizing it.
Yes, ma'am.
Special education, struggling with staff, both recruiting and retention because of statewide special ed and emerging
Bilinguals.
are bilingual. It's a major issue for us. Do you perceive help from the BATRE if it passes?
I think that will help attract more candidates to our doors. There's a fight in Texas over these highly qualified people that work with our emergent bilinguals and our students with special needs. And so we have some phenomenal people here working, but we need more hands.
Finally, I'm really glad to see that you are recommending a bond oversight committee, a committee of both local citizens and employees of the district who will keep a close eye when the bond passes over the expenditures to see that we have total transparency for our community. And I was glad to see that on page 36 of our plan.
Yes,
and
ma'am.
Have one other tab here.
Well, the long-range planning team or the strategic planning team worked really, really hard to, there were actually 2 sessions because we couldn't finish it in one, determining exactly how to get all of the things that were needs and take out the things that were perceived as wants and get to what was actually needed. And those things are outlined on our website. But so then a bond oversight committee, making sure that that's where that money goes is logical.
Very good. Great job.
Thank you. Great job to all of the directors and these 2 guys.
Do I have any other discussion? Do I have a motion regarding the campus improvement plan?
Yeah, Madam President, I move that we approve the district improvement plans for the 23-24, for 2023 and 24.
Thank you, Mr. Moore. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Ms. Townsend. You have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, show of hands. Opposed, same sign. Let the record show 7-0. Consider approval of the Granbury Independent School District Resolution Number 101-62023 regarding vouchers and school funding.
Investment policy.
Yeah. You skipped one.
Would you give me a correct? Would someone like to come look over my shoulder and tell me that? Consider resolution stating review of investment policy. Oh, it's C on mine. It's B on yours. Okay. So we'll go to the resolution stating the review of investment policy. I'll just mark these numbers out. I'll make CBB. Is there any discussion, or do I have a motion on the resolution stating the review of the investment policy?
I do have one question, and I think Emmett's going to want to talk on it a little bit. Okay, so we're looking at, this has to do with CDA local. Under internal controls, number 1 says separation of transaction authority from accounting and record keeping and electronic transfer of funds. Isn't that all within your organization? How are you making sure that's a separation of
On the transfer of funds, Dr. Glenn and I are the investment officers. We do have approval for Kathy, the business manager, to be an investment officer as well. However, she's not signing off on it. I do the transactions. Dr. Glenn is aware of them, and then Kathy records them in the accounting software.
So that's how you have your separation?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, I needed that.
Any other questions or discussion?
Mr. Whitefield, were you going to present on this at all?
I can, yes, sir. Yes, I would be glad to. Board, in front of you, you do have the investment policy for the district. It is CDA legal and CDA local. CDA local is going to be Exhibit A in your packet, and then you will have a list of brokers, qualified brokers, as Exhibit B in your packet. CDA legal states that the board shall adopt a written instrument stating that it has reviewed the investment policy and investment strategies, and that the written instrument also adopted shall record any changes made to either the investment policy or investment strategies. CDA legal also states that the board shall annually review, revise, and adopt a list of qualified brokers, which is Exhibit B in your packet, that are authorized to engage in investment transactions with the district. CDA local states that the superintendent or other person designated by the board board resolution shall serve as the investment officer. And lastly, Texas Government Code Section 2256.008A requires the board approve independent sources of investment training. In view of these requirements, a resolution is attached for your consideration as a board. It is the administration's recommendation that the board adopt the attached resolution stating the board has reviewed the investment policy and strategies, adopted a list of qualified brokers, has designated the investment officers for the district, and has approved the independent sources of investment training as required by investment policy and Texas Government Code.
And I'll just speak into this a little bit. Appreciate that commentary, Mr. Whitefield. But at the end of the day, we have probably one of the more conservative investment policies. ISDs typically have very conservative. Ours is extremely conservative. All investments are put together in such a way where they cannot yield a loss. So you're never going to see us out investing in stocks that may lose the taxpayer money. For the most part, everything is protected. It has to be insured. And again, it's an extremely conservative investment policy, which is why in lean years like last year, you saw very, very small yields on interest rates. And this year, it's a little bit better. But you still see pretty low returns as compared to maybe an investment banker that would take the sums of money we're investing and get yields of probably right now closer to, 8 to 12%. So we're going to be significantly under that because we invested zero risk.
Do I have a motion?
Madam President, I move that we approve the resolution stating the review of the investment policy.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Motion by Ms. Townsend, second by Ms. Lowry. Any further discussion? All in favor, show of hands. Opposed, same sign. Let the record show 7-0. Now consider approval of Granbury Independent School District Resolution Number 101-62023 regarding vouchers and school funding.
Thank you, Madam President. You have before you a voucher that is a resolution put out by the Texas Association of School Boards. It's been signed off on by, I believe, now 178 school districts in Texas. I know that number continues to grow as the session goes on. I don't know if it would be easier to read it or summarize it. I'll let the board decide.
I would like it read into the record.
Thank you. Vouchers and education savings accounts, taxpayer savings grants, and other mechanisms that reduce public education funding for the state of Texas, the county of Hood. Whereas Article 7, Section 1 of the Texas Constitution requires the Texas Legislature establish and make suitable provision for the support and maintenance of an efficient system of free public schools, whereas the Texas Public Schools districts, including Granbury ISD, accept every student, whereas education savings accounts and other voucher schemes give private schools, not parents, the right to choose, whereas the community has high expectations about how their children are served in our schools and how their tax dollars are used and the level of transparency we provide in all matters, whereas Granbury ISD schools and all Texas public schools adhere to state-mandated academic and financial accountability standards, whereas private schools are not required to meet the same academic standards as public schools, and they do not report test results, graduation rates, and other performance measures to the public, whereas education savings accounts and similar voucher schemes eliminate public accountability of schools and tax dollars, whereas school choice already exists in Texas via the public school districts, charter schools, transfer, homeschools, virtual schools, and private schools, whereas during the 2023 multiple sessions, including the 88th regular legislative session, Texas lawmakers did not deliver on promised and expected increases in funding for teacher and staff compensation and safety to Texas public schools, even with a $33 billion surplus available to them at the state level, whereas using tax dollars to pay for tuition in private and religious schools would grow into a costly entitlement program at a time when the state is not allocating enough funds to public schools, including those in Granbury ISD, to address its required increase in non-discretionary expenditures caused by the market forces and inflation, whereas taxpayer-funded voucher program would reduce the amount of state funds available for all schools, harming communities like ours that are founded upon strong public schools, whereas Texas parents who accept vouchers would lose out on a long list of important parental rights outlined in the Texas Education Code and in federal law, especially protections for students receiving special education services, and whereas the Texas legislature may meet again in 2023 to discuss public schools if Governor Abbott calls another special session, which he has. Now, therefore, be it resolved that Granbury ISD Board of Trustees calls on the Texas legislature to reject any diversion of public dollars to private entities in the form of education savings accounts and similar voucher schemes.
Thank you, Dr. Glenn. They have called the special session specifically for ESAs. I think it's important that all the trustees look at each part of this resolution and see if there's anything you don't agree with. Just because this is the outlined resolution that was from TASB doesn't mean that we have to accept it as written. So if you have any amendments or language you would like to change, I would suggest adding that or taking it out. I think there's some valid points that are made in here regarding public education, funding, and services that students, particularly parents, won't really have the right to choose. It really gives private schools the right to choose who they accept. We serve the majority of students in our community, so any funding that they take away from our local public schools just hurts kids, and ultimately that's why we're here. We're here to do what's best for kids. So anything that takes funding away from the kids that we serve is a disservice to the children of this community. This isn't a Republican-Democrat issue. This is about doing what's best for kids. I think our legislator deserves to hear from us and where we stand on this issue, whether that means we are going to see legislation or not this session. Abbott has made it clear that he's going to keep calling special session until something is passed. So I think it's important to point out some of the fallacies that we see in vouchers so our legislators know what to look for with any type of voucher program that is brought or presented to them, so that perhaps they can put provisions or protections in place for public schools to make sure some of these issues outlined in this resolution are addressed.
And also, I hope that it puts in their mind what they need to think of from a parent standpoint, that the parents need to understand that there will not be the same academic standards as what we have in public school. There will not be the same fiscal accountability that we have in public school, that there will not be the same availability of public information as we have in the public schools. The legislature is going to do what the legislature is going to do, but from my standpoint, I am a trustee of public schools. That is why this is important.
Well said.
I think it's also important to consider when those accountability standards like STAR testing are used to devalue public education, instead of taking funding away from public education, let's look at those systems and fix those systems instead of taking funds away. One or two children leaving a public school has a huge effect on that public school because the teacher still has to teach that class, but we're losing funding on 2, 3 students even. It has a huge effect. Our bills don't change. The salary for that teacher doesn't change. we still have all those same expenses. And it's kind of funny to me, or I don't know if funny is the right word, but it's strange to me that they would offer an $8,000 ESA program for people to choose to go somewhere else where they may not even be able to go, yet they're not even looking at a basic allotment increase. $75, I think, is what the Senate proposed. So we've got a huge discrepancy in the funding that they're willing to give to one program versus another. And I think that needs to be addressed by our legislator.
Well, the financial fallacy of it all is what really gets me. Why would they give $8,000 to a student to go to a private school when they don't give us $8,000 per student to educate that student in public schools? Not only that, folks, I don't know how many additional people in this community could take $8,000 and enroll them in any private school for that amount. If you have anybody in private school, I don't know about our local private schools, but I can tell you that typically a private school tuition runs about $25,000 to $30,000 a year. $8,000 is not even a drop in the bucket for most parents. Plus, youngsters who go to private schools have access to a lot of other things that they do. And somehow the legislature is not, or the governor or someone's not thinking about, oh yes, will these kids be able to make this field trip for this weekend for $250? Or will they be able to make this activity for another $500 a year? Because in private schools, and I can speak to this because my granddaughter attends a private school, I will tell you that it costs them in the neighborhood of about $40,000 a year for that child to go to that school and for that child to participate in the weekend activities, and that's not counting their trip to the Holy Land that was scheduled for the spring term. It doesn't count all of those other things. And I don't know about anybody else, but quite frankly, I don't want my child having to compete with children that have that access to that kind of educational money when all I have is what the government gives me to the state of Texas says $8,000. That's not even a drop in the bucket. So the fallacy of it all, and I'm not bragging about my granddaughter going to public school and my son will, private school, and my son will probably kill me for this. But the reality of it is that youngsters that are in that school currently on scholarship feel that they do not fit. And there's not anything in the world. We've talked about bullying. There's not anything in the world as bad as to have a kid come into a school where they do not fit for whatever reason. So the whole financial fallacy of the thing just bugs me.
And, you know, when we look at the demographics of the community that we serve, and over half of the students we serve are from economically disadvantaged families, this doesn't really do anything to help them. Where they need help is at their public school, where they're going to get the services they need. They're going to get access to the technology that they wouldn't otherwise have, that private schools, they're going to be required to have that on their own. Transportation, private schools aren't going to provide it. There's a lot of discrepancies in here that I think these fallacies need to be pointed out to our legislators so that as they're looking at this in the House, they're aware of these issues. And so if legislation comes out and it does get passed, at least they're looking at these issues to try and address some of the things that need to be addressed so that they're ultimately doing what's best for kids.
I just have a question and a comment. My first question is, I would like to know who put this on the agenda.
Oh, certainly I did.
Okay. And then my comment is, I'm really looking at this, and Dave Eagle spoke on it, but if it came from TASB, it is it's taxpayer-funded lobbying, which uses school resources to lobby the legislature. It's a legal use of school resources. TASB is a statewide tax-funded lobbying group. Dues are paid with tax dollars. And actually, 90% of all Texans, Republican and Democrat, oppose taxpayer-funded lobbying of any kind. Those are my only comments.
Thank you, Ms.
That's kind of what the delegate assembly is for, so that the elected representatives from the local communities are able to go to TASB, tell TASB what the local issues are that they care about in their school district, and get them on as priorities so that they can put those to the legislators. I mean, we don't all have time to go down to Austin individually and meet with legislators all the time. It's much like, I guess, to compare it to something that you would know, would be like a county convention, where you gather together as a community, you get those priorities that are prevalent to Hood County for the Hood County Convention, and then from there you go to the state convention. It's very similar to that, so that the local community's voice is being heard and represented in some way. And like I said, just because that's what this resolution says doesn't mean we can't amend it and change language or eliminate some of the language. So if there's anything in here you don't agree with, that you would like to change or amend or completely eliminate, I'm open to any suggestions.
I'd just like to say, there's a lot of good points in here across the board. Each one of these points are points that the legislature has dropped the ball on this last session, which is why we're in a special session now. I believe that public schools as a whole, statewide, are under attack, and I think that our approving this gives us good ammunition to go and try and lobby for ourselves, if we have to, for some of these points. They had a good chance to give a raise to all the teachers, and they decided not to do that. We're having to do a Vader to try and pick that up. It's just that I believe that schools in general are under attack statewide, and I think these are good points, no matter whether they came from TASB or anybody else. I just think they're good points, and I support each one of them.
Well, they're valid points. And like I said, this is a chance for each trustee to give their input into this resolution. If there's something you want to change that you don't agree with, or you want to completely eliminate, then make the amendment and we can discuss it. And this is a chance for us as a collective board to put together a message to send to our legislator.
Well, if private schools followed the same rules that we have to, I would probably be for vouchers, but until they have to, do the same, academic standards, accept people with disabilities, with learning disabilities, private schools, they don't have to accept you if they don't want to. As a public school, we'll take care of you. We'll take care of everybody.
My only comment is that, yes, it is taxpayer funding lobbying, and I would prefer, as an individual voter in person, that I would just call, maybe not have to drive down there, but I can call or I can send emails and leave my information and what I feel with the legislators.
Yeah, certainly everybody has the right to do that, and I would encourage everyone to do so, absolutely.
This time I will entertain a motion.
Madam President, I move that the board approve the resolution as presented.
A motion by Mr. Wimberly. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a second by Mrs. Gore. I have a motion and second to approve the Granbury Independent School District resolution regarding vouchers and school funding. All in favor, show of hands. Opposed, same sign. Let the record show it passes 5-2 with Ms. Graff and Ms. Lowry voting no. At this time, we'll go to the continued education annual report for school board trustees. I would like to report to you that every trustee sitting at this table has exceeded all of the annual requirements, and most of the people sitting at this table have exceeded them by probably double of what they needed. So thank each board member for your participation in training. By training, we learn something new every year. I don't care how many years you've been here, I learn something every year. So thank you all for fulfilling the requirements of training for our board trustees. Now we'll move to the financial statements for the period ending September the 30th, 2023. Mr. Whitefield.
Thank you, Madam President. Board, you do have the financials for September 30th, 2023 in front of you. That is the first month of this fiscal year. So the revenue collected to date equals 4.87% of the budgeted amount compared to 2.33% in 21 and 22. The expenditures to date represent 12.85% of the budget compared to 10.62 in 22 and 23. If you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer those.
How do you feel we're sitting in I know that we're behind on collection of taxes because the tax statements won't go out until later, but do you see any other problems?
No, ma'am, not at this time. I do not.
Any questions? All right, moving right along. You're still on.
Thank you, Madam President. Board, in front of you, you do have the cash flow and investment report. You can see that in September, we did raise $134,872.28 in interest. This month, last year, we only raised $62,800, so we're ahead on that. And the total for last year's investment interest was $2,494,610. So we are on track, if interest rates stay the way they are, to exceed that.
Very good. There being no further business, we are adjourned at 7:54. And thank you for coming.